You are listening to the Knotted Physio podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Resmondo, owner of South Alabama Physiotherapy and creator of the Knotted Physio, where life should be fun and light. This is the podcast where we talk about how to keep the active adult who's busy with work and family life fit and healthy to enjoy the Gulf Coast outdoors. Let's get into today's episode. Before we start today, I wanted to let you know about our free Facebook group, The Knotted Physio. I do live trainings in the group each week to dive deeper into strategies to remain active and where you can ask me questions personally and I'll give you feedback. Okay, on to the episode. Good morning, everybody. Jenny Resmondo here, the Knotted Physio, coming in on this next episode of the Knotted Physio podcast. So I've been answering some listener questions, trying to help solve some dilemmas and some issues that are coming up in my audience, you guys, in your lives, whenever you're out fishing or in just your day-to-day activity. So one question that was just recently brought up, this came from a lady angler, and so I really appreciate my lady anglers out there too. She said that when they go fishing, they are going offshore. And for example, with her situation, she hooked something, and it was something that was rather big. And so it was taking her line, and her husband was with her in the boat, and he had his own fish that was on. And so he was bringing in that fish while she was working hers. And the fish was really strong and starting to overpower her, and so she was letting it play and let the line run out, and she'd reel when she could, just like you're supposed to whenever you're out deep sea fishing. Well, she said it was probably over an hour of her doing this by the time her husband was able to bring in his fish and come over to help her and give her a break. Well, that was an hour of solid fighting whatever monster of a fish it was. It ended up, once the husband took over, it snapped their line at some point later. And so they never did know exactly what it was. They were assuming that it could have been a shark or something along those lines that had gotten on the line because it was very aggressive. But regardless, she said that her concern was the soreness from her having to fight that fish for over an hour. And that was just one situation. I know that for you guys that are out deep sea fishing and you're after, the billfish or the larger species, it's a struggle and a fight, and you have to really lock in and have the belts and all that stuff. Well, the concern that she had mentioned was that for 3 to 4 days after they got back from their offshore fishing trip, she was so sore from having to fight the fish. So she asked me if there's anything that could be done for recovery. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, how to help stave off some of that post fishing trip soreness, even if you're not battling a monster fish like what she had hooked on. She's also, the other thing to let you know is she does work out. She works out every morning with strength training, that sort of thing. So it's not like she was a weak person. She just, whenever you're fighting for an hour solid, trying to pull in the fish, it's a major workout, and all the muscles are tensing up in every part of the body to be able to hold and fight and to be able to keep that fish and actually land it on the boat. So this goes for everybody, not just our deep sea fishermen, but our inshore and our lake and our rivers, because, we use different size poles for different size fish. And sometimes you're catching a larger fish on a really low test line, even if it's freshwater, right? So you could still have a fight. It will not be quite as aggressive as offshore, like what this exact situation was, but still you have a lot of soreness that could build up. And with it being the time of year that it is, fishing season in our part is gearing back up. It's starting to get warm. People are wanting to go out. The sun's shining. It's been pretty weather. So for some here lately, we've been having some rain in our area. But, that's kind of what happens is you haven't been out fishing in a while. you hook on and you fight for an hour, and you may or may not bring it in, and your body experiences what's called delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. And that happens with exercising in general, um, physical fitness, endurance athletes. We all experience this. So the best way for you to recover after an event like that is going to vary from person to person. But in general, you want to do what's called active recovery. And so active recovery means that you're staying active, you're moving, you're keeping the blood flowing through your body as you recover on the next few days. And some athletes will actually do different post-workout routines, but for us anglers, it could be something as simple like walking around, doing simple jumping jacks, opening and spreading your arms wide, swinging them back and forth, what we call whirlies is what I used to call them whenever the kids were little, is you would stand with your feet planted and you twist your upper body and let your arms just sling from side to side. So that doing that motion, it helps to get mobility through the arms and the spine as well. And then general toe touches, bending over, backwards bending. And it doesn't have to go into a full back bend, but just getting your spine to move in all the different directions. And the same thing with your arms. Some people you've seen, especially like bodybuilders and weightlifters, where they take their arm and they kind of sling it up and slap their back. So that motion is also good, especially with fishing, because we're using our upper body so much, gripping the pole and reeling and cranking on the reel to pull the fish in. So definitely make sure that you're including your upper body in your active workout. Doing wrist circles. So those of you on my camera could see this, wrist circles both ways. You could do the wave with your wrist just like that and switching directions. So the wave motion is you just interlace each finger and roll through that mobility. So generally things of that nature. And then, so we've talked about your spine. We've talked about your arms and your wrists and your hands. You need to do your neck, twisting your head from side to side, looking up and down. And then lastly is you do need to work on your legs. And when you bend forward to touch your toes, that is an option to be able to stretch your hamstrings out also. But just doing general like high knees, maybe even little squat walks to the side, just to kind of get your legs going, because out on the big boats like that, bringing in the deep sea fish, you're using your legs as a part of the leverage too. A lot of time you're leaning back into a harness, or you're leaning back on the center console, and your legs are getting a heavy duty workout. So something along those lines is what I'm talking about with active recovery. Active recovery is not laying up on the couch the next day, not moving and vegging out completely. That's going to allow all the lactic acid that built up during that exercise, which was you're pulling in the fish, to set in your muscles and cause more soreness. So active recovery means actively moving. And then something else to consider, I'm a big proponent of hydration. So hydration is going to be really key to help your body flush out all the lactic acid. The more you drink your fluids, your water, your body's able to use that water and to remove the cellular debris internally. The garbage disposal system is your lymph system, and it'll send it to the liver and the kidneys. And guess what? You'll get to pee it out. So I want you to pee it out and flush out all the garbage, the lactic acid buildup in your system. That will help with recovery as well. And then lastly, adding protein. Protein is going to be crucial after a major workout event. You will know that that several people in the athletic world will do some kind of protein shake or protein bar or a big meal after their endurance type activities. That goes the same thing for deep sea fishing. You still need to have that protein boost after you've exerted a lot of effort and energy to help replenish that effort and energy. So those are my tips for recovering post fishing trip. to be able to get your body back into prime working condition. Because if you're like me, you're working Monday through Friday, and generally you only have Saturday and Sunday to go out on the boat. We want to be able to make sure that our bodies are primed and ready so that way we can get through the work week without suffering and be able to have enough energy for the next weekend to go out fishing. Guys, I hope you found that super helpful for you. Please subscribe, comment, let me know what questions you have. You're welcome to post them here on whatever platform you're listening to. And you could always email me at jenny@salpt.com. And you can find more information about myself and the programs I have to offer at Succeed with PT. I will see you all next week, and you all have a great day. See you next time.